Okay, good morning, dear students. So today we'll be continuing with this concept of uptake and transport of mineral nutrients. See, the transport of mineral nutrients takes place along with the uptake of water. So minerals, they would be taken up from the soil in the form of ions, and they are taken up through the active process. Majority of the minerals, they enter from the soil into the root cells by an active process. Whenever we are saying it as an active process, you should understand there is expenditure of energy. See, the mineral ions in the soil is in lower concentration when compared to the mineral ions in the roots. Even then, they are going to take up this mineral ions from the soil by diffusion as well as by the active process. They are going to take it up. And once they are taking up this mineral ions through this protein pumps, see, the protein pumps are present on the plasma membrane. So they are going to take this minerals, and this minerals reaches the endodermal cells. Okay, so most minerals are actively absorbed by the roots because minerals occur in the soil as charged particles or ions which cannot move across the cell membranes. So the concentration of soil minerals is lower than that of the concentration in the root. So the active uptake of ions, that is by expenditure of energy, the ions are taken for into the roots, and this active uptake of ions is also partially responsible for the water potential gradient in roots. So water potential gradient is where you have differences between the water potentials. So there is a water potential gradient in roots whenever the entry of this ions takes place by this active uptake, and therefore there is an uptake of water by osmosis. Some of the ions are also absorbed passively, probably because their concentration is higher in soil when compared to roots, so they are taken up passively. There is no requirement of expenditure of energy. So there are specific membrane proteins on the root hair cells. So the membrane has the plasma membrane on the root hair cells. They have specific membrane proteins, specific proteins, or this you can also call it as protein pumps. So which actively pump ions from the soil into the epidermal cells. Okay. Similarly, the endodermal cells, once it reaches the epidermis cortex and it reaches the the endodermal cell membrane also has transport proteins. They allow some of these ions to cross the membrane, solutes or ions to cross the membrane, but not others. So these proteins in the endodermal region, okay, the proteins, transport proteins present on the endodermal cell membrane, they are going to act as regulators, control points, checkpoints, where a plant adjusts the quantity and type of solute that reaches the xylem. So the quantity and type of ions that reach the xylem is going to be controlled by the protein pumps in the endodermal region. The suberin, you know that this is the hydrophobic substance in the endodermis. So the suberin in the root endodermis, they allow the active transport of ions in one direction only. I told you that it is like chakravyuha. In only one direction they can enter. See, the suberin in the root epidermis, root endodermis, they allow the active transport of ions in only one direction. So there is no exit, there is only entry. It is similar to Chakravyuha, uh, which Abhimanyu enters. I'm just giving you a comparison. That's it. So the suberin in the root endodermis, they allow the entry of ions in only one direction. So there is no exit. One way it is. See the translocation of once the ions reach the xylem, they are further transported to all parts of the plant through this transpirational stream along with water, they are transported to all parts of the plant. The chief sinks for mineral elements. Sinks are the region where these mineral ions are required. So the chief sinks for these mineral elements are the growing tips of apical meristem and lateral meristem, the young leaves, then the developing flowers, fruits, and seeds, then the storage organs. These are the regions where they are going to utilize the mineral elements. So the region of utilization, the region of requirement is in these elements, in these organs. So we call it as the chief sinks for the mineral elements. These are the sinks for the absorbed mineral elements. So the translocation of mineral ions. So the unloading, see there was vein loading from the uh, cortical cells to the xylem in the root region. That is called as vein loading. Unloading is when they reach the sink region, maybe the leaf. So the unloading of this mineral ions, they occur at the fine endings. That is the tip of this fine vein endings. So through diffusion and active uptake. See both vein loading and vein unloading, they require active it's an active process. There is expenditure of energy. So not only this vein loading is by diffusion and active uptake, vein unloading is also by diffusion and active uptake by the cells. I'll just compare this vein loading and vein unloading to a similar to a lorry. See a lorry or a truck, it should carry the sand. So the sand is brought into the truck's carrier. How is it brought into? So by laborers, they are going to transport this sand into the truck. Okay, they are going to load the sand into the truck. Okay, then this truck travels and it reaches the destination where it has to be unloaded. Again, for unloading, the laborers have to unload it. So here, the in case of plants, the truck is the xylem and loading region ATP are the laborers and the sand you can compare it to that of the mineral ions. So they are loaded. Okay, so that is the region where they are loading it. So when they reach the destination, that is the regions like it can be the leaf or the young leaves, or it can be the apical meristem or lateral meristem. There they are unloading it. Again, unloading is by the expenditure of energy. So even the laborers are to spend their energy to unload it, isn't it? So there is an unloading taking place. So you can remember about a truck with laborers who are loading sand and unloading it on reaching the destination. Similarly, the mineral ions are loaded by diffusion and active process. Active process involves expenditure of energy. At reaching the destination points, that is the sink regions, they are going to unload it again by diffusion and expenditure of energy. So the mineral ions are frequently remobilized from the older dying parts of the plant. Senescing means the aging parts of the plant, like the older leaves. So they are remobilizing the ions into the younger leaves from older senescing parts to the younger leaves. So how are they? What are the mineral ions that they are going to remobilize? You can remember it as NPK. Yes. See, the plants require major nutrients is NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and sulfur. Okay, so this NPKS is remobilized from the older senescing parts to the younger leaves. The elements which are most readily remobilized are NPKS, that is nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and sulfur. Some elements that cannot be that are structural components like calcium, they cannot be remobilized. That you should remember about it. So some of the elements like that are structural components like calcium, they cannot be remobilized. The translocation of mineral ions. So nitrogen is mainly, how is this along with water, how is this nitrogen carried? Mainly in the organic form, they are, and such as amino acids, it would be carried mainly in organic forms, but they can also exist as inorganic ions like nitrate, nitrite. They can exist as an inorganic ion also. See, nitrogen is carried mainly as organic compounds, that is amino acids, and they might also exist as inorganic ions. Some phosphorus and sulfur are also carried as organic compounds. So there is exchange of materials between xylem and phloem. So thus we cannot clearly state that, see, the phloem is going to carry only the organic solutes, the xylem is going to carry inorganic nutrients. We cannot clearly state that because there is some exchange of materials between xylem and phloem taking place. So hence we cannot clearly demarcate saying that xylem transports only inorganic nutrients while phloem transports only organic materials. That we cannot clearly state because at some point there is an exchange of elements between xylem and phloem. The next is important thing is phloem transport, or you can also call it as translocation of organic solutes. Okay, so the phloem transport. So you should remember from the flow from source to sink. Very important it is flow from source to sink. What is the source region? Where the food is synthesized. The region where food is synthesized, we call it as source region. From this source region, the food has to be supplied to other leaves, other parts of the stem. The food has to be supplied to the flowers, fruits. So you can see that the supply of food is multi-directional, as well as the food that is synthesized should also reach the roots. Okay, roots and the storage organs also they should reach. So how is it happening? So it is a multi-directional transport that you can see. The translocation of organic solutes, we also call it as xylem transporters, ascent of sap, or uptake of water, you can call it as phloem transport, we call it as translocation of organic solutes or transport of food. The flow is from source to sink region. Source region is where food is synthesized. That is in the leaf, which is the kitchen of the plant. They synthesize food through photosynthesis. Okay, and that food which is synthesized is supplied to each and every part of the plant, and the flow of this food, which is in organic solute form, it is multi-directional. It flows against the gravitational force as well as it flows with the gravitational force. So that is what you have to remember about. See, there are simultaneously many processes are taking place. If you look into this slide, the blue color, what does it indicate? Water and minerals being uptaken by this xylem. The yellow color indicates the food being supplied by this phloem. Okay, simultaneously it is happening. So the food supply is multi-directional, whereas water supply, water and mineral supply is unidirectional. The supply of food is with the gravitational force, against the gravitational force, both are taking place. So the phloem transport is multi-directional. Okay, source is the region where food is synthesized. Sink is the region where food is utilized, the region of utilization, the region of requirement. We call it as the sink region. The region of synthesis, we call it as source region. See, the long distance movement of organic substances, food, that is the food, organic substances that is synthesized by the leaf. Primarily, these organic substances will be having sucrose. Okay, from a source, that is region of synthesis, the food is synthesized, region of synthesis of food, that is the leaf, to a sink region, region of storage or utilization of food through the phloem. We call it as phloem transport. The long distance movement of substances, okay, that is especially the organic solutes, primarily the sucrose, from a region of synthesis of the food, that is source region, example is leaf, to the sink region, region of storage or utilization of food, example, root, flowers, fruits through the phloem. We call it as phloem transport. So it is a long distance movement of organic substances from the source region to the sink region through the phloem. We call it as phloem transport. The source and sink may be reversed depending on the season, okay, or the plant's needs. In early spring, the sugar is stored in roots, okay, and it is moved to the tree buds for growth and development of photosynthetic apparatus. Thus root becomes the source and buds the sink. So there can be interswapping of the source and sink region can also happen. So the source and sink may be reversed depending on the season or the plant's need. In early spring, the sugar stored in roots is moved to the tree buds. See, in early spring, the buds are just sprouting. They cannot undergo photosynthesis and synthesize food. They cannot be source region at that point. So where are they getting the food for their development? They are getting it from the stored food in the roots. In early spring, the buds, when they are arising, they require nutrients, but they don't have leaves for photosynthesis. So in early spring, the sugar which is stored, that is the sucrose which is stored in roots, is moved to the tree buds for growth and development of photosynthetic apparatus. So thus, in this condition, early spring season, the root becomes the source region and the bud becomes the sink region. So now if you look into this slide, see this is xylem in which there is water and minerals being transported by transpiration. So transpirational stream is there. This is the pink colored one is the phloem, where there is translocation of organic solutes or the translocation of food is taking place. And they are from the leaf. So the food is uh, uploaded, and this uploaded food into the phloem, it reaches these sieve tubes and they are downloaded at the sink region. The uploading of food and downloading of food, vein loading and vein unloading, it is an active process. Okay, so these are the companion cells where there is a companion cells are going to uh, load the food, loading of food, vein loading, vein unloading is taking place. And you can see that there is exchange of materials. So from phloem, some materials enters the xylem, and from xylem, water enters into the phloem. So there is an exchange of materials between xylem and phloem. That is the reason we cannot clearly demarcate xylem to be transport of inorganic elements and phloem to be the transport of organic solutes. We cannot clearly demarcate because there is exchange of materials between the xylem and phloem. So you can see there is water entering into the phloem and here food is entering into the xylem. So there is exchange of these materials between xylem and phloem. See, direction of movement in the phloem can be upwards, that is against the gravitational force, or downwards. So they are bidirectional. Whereas in xylem, it is always against the gravitational force upwards. So we call it as unidirectional movement. See, the direction of movement of food in the phloem can be upwards or downwards with the against the gravitational force and with the gravitational force. So they are bidirectional. Whereas in xylem, the movement is always upwards, unidirectional. Hence, food in phloem sap can be transported in any direction. Whereas water and mineral ions, in only one direction they can be transferred. But food in phloem sap, they can be transported in any direction. What is the major components of phloem sap? It is made up of water, sucrose, but they also have other sugars too. Hormones are there, amino acids are also translocated through this phloem sap. So phloem sap is majorly composed of water, sucrose, and other sugars. They also have hormones and amino acids which are also translocated along with the food. So there is exchange of materials between the xylem and phloem. So the phloem sap is majorly composed of food. So the phloem transport is best explained through this mass flow hypothesis. Okay, months mass flow hypothesis. Okay, months mass flow hypothesis, we call it as. I'm just searching for the diagram. Okay, so I was just discussing about how the phloem transport is bidirectional and xylem transport is unidirectional. Okay, phloem sap is majorly composed of water and sucrose, but other sugars, hormones, and amino acids can also be present in this phloem sap. So just remember about that. Okay. The pressure flow hypothesis or mass flow hypothesis, it describes this phloem transport. Okay, so there is the source region where the food is synthesized through this companion cells. They are uh, uploaded. The vein loading takes place into the sieve tube, and the sieve tube carries this food. And when it reaches the destination, that is the sink region, the food is unloaded again through the companion cell and they enter into this sink region, so where the food is going to be utilized or stored. So this is how it is taking place. There is a source and sink region. In the source region, what you have to remember is the food molecules are higher. Okay, so they have more food molecules here and lesser food molecules in the sink region. So as a result of that, the water also enters here in this region, the water enters. So in the sink region, uh, the source region, the water enters. Okay, there is end osmosis taking place at the sieve tube here. So as a result of that, when water enters here, so there is going to be n mass movement of this organic solutes, and they are carried to the sink region. In the sink region, the uh, food molecules are lower, and you know that the food molecules are going to enter into the companion cell and finally reach the sink region. And at the same time, the water is going to exit out. Reason is there is exosmosis taking place. So the osmosis here, it takes place, it is exosmosis. Water moves from a region of higher water potential to a region of lower water potential. That is taking place at this region. So this is how the difference in turgor pressure helps in the movement of this translocation of sugar or organic solutes. This is the phloem transport that is happening. So the Munch mass flow hypothesis explains the mechanism of translocation of sugar from the source region to the sink region. The glucose is prepared at the source region. It is converted to a disaccharide sucrose. Okay, at the source region. The next step is sucrose moves into the companion cell and then into the living phloem sieve tube. See, sieve tube is going to be what we call it as um, a living cell without nucleus. Okay, the only living plant cell without nucleus is sieve tube. So the food sucrose is moved into the companion cells and then into the living phloem sieve tube by active transport. So there is an uploading of this food. So there is an expenditure of energy, and this we call it as active transport. Okay, loading takes place or uploading takes place. So the it produces a hypertonic condition in phloem. So now, because of this entry of this organic solutes at the sieve tube, it is going to create an hypertonic solution. So more solutes are there at this region in the sieve tube. So the water potential decreases here. So once there is hypertonic solution, the more you add the solute, lesser will be the water potential. So once this organic solutes enter, so the water potential is going to decrease. And once the water potential decreases, the sieve tube cells, they form long columns with holes in the sieve plates. So they are interconnected by this sieve plates, which have pores in them or holes in them. So they form a long continuous column in between with the pores in the sieve plate. They form a long continuous column. So the cytoplasmic strands pass through these holes and they form a continuous filaments in the sieve tube. Water in the adjacent xylem moves into the phloem by osmosis. See, since here water potential is lower and water potential is higher, see, just because the solutes entered here, they are going to become hypertonic solution when compared to xylem. So the water enters from higher water potential to lower water potential. So the water in the adjacent xylem moves into the phloem by osmosis. As the osmotic pressure or hydrostatic pressure builds up, the phloem sap, it is going to move towards the phloem sap, it is going to move towards the area of lower osmotic pressure, that is at the sink region. Since the sink region has lesser solute, so they have more water here. So water potential will be higher in the sink region. So as a result of it, so there is a lower osmotic pressure in the sink region. So the sucrose from the phloem sap, they actively move into the cells. The cells convert the sugar into the sucrose from the phloem sap actively moves into the cells, and again it is unloading is also brought about by companion cells. And here what you have to notice is that it is going to be vein unloading. It is also an active process. There is expenditure of energy. So the sucrose from the phloem sap is actively moving into the cells, that is the sink region, the cells that are in the sink region. The cells convert the sugar into energy, starch, or cellulose. So they can convert the sugar into energy, starch, or cellulose. It is up to them what they do. So as sugars are removed, osmotic pressure decreases, water potential increases, and water moves out from the phloem. So yeah, as the sugars are moved by this active process, so osmotic pressure decreases here and water potential increases, and the water moves out of the phloem into the xylem. Okay. So now identification of the tissue that transports food. We know that it is sieve tube, but how did they identify that the tissue that transports food is sieve tube or phloem? So for this, they did a girdling experiment wherein they removed a ring of bark, including phloem layer. The bark was removed from a tree trunk. Okay. After a few weeks, the portion of the bark above the ring of the stem, they swell up. They are swollen because of accumulation of food. So why is there an accumulation of food and why is there a swelling here? Because there is an accumulation of food. And why is it not flowing downwards? Because they do not have the downward movement of food cannot take place because they are not having phloem. So this shows that phloem is the tissue responsible for translocation of food, and that transport takes place in one direction, that is towards the root. Okay, so in the girdling experiment, the food is being taken towards the sink region. So the transport of food is taking in one direction, that is towards the roots. You can notice in this girdling or ringing bark experiment, we call it as. So in the girdling experiment, what we do is we take a healthy plant twig. We are going to girdle the bark, remove the bark along with phloem. So now they have only xylem. There is no phloem, there is no cortex, anything at all. So the bark we have removed with phloem. So only xylem is there. So what you notice after a few days is the above the cut part, there is a swelling of the stem above the cut part, swollen tissue. When they analyzed this, it was the accumulation of food. Why was there a swelling due to accumulation of food? Is because they were not able to move downwards. From this experiment, we understand that the flow of food is through phloem and not xylem. Okay, so this is the girdling or ringing bark experiment. So now in today's class, we discussed about the flow from source to sink region. Okay, so that is the Munch's mass flow hypothesis. It was put forth by a German scientist Ernst Munch. So according to him, the most accepted theory for phloem transport is the Munch's mass flow hypothesis. Okay, so now do you have any doubts regarding this Munch's mass flow hypothesis?